couple of years ago as a church, we went through a very painful process of closing a school that we had, an elementary school, for 30-some years here. And as we went through the changes, the things that go on when you lose a friend like that, we began to ask the serious question of ourselves at the church: what would happen if the church were to close its doors? Because a lot of people associated our school with our church, and when our school closed, they said, well, now is your church going to close? And we said, no, the church is doing fine. But we began to ask ourselves that question: what would happen if the church were to close its doors? Would anybody in the community even notice? Would we be missed? And the sobering answer to that was probably not as many as we would like. And so through that process, we began to try and figure out ways that we could be a more vital part of serving the community and the people who live here. And through that process, we began, we opened up the Genesee Artist Community, which is in one of our school buildings up the hill. And that's now home to a dozen or so artists who are free to create, have their studios without the pressure of overwhelming rent. It was that building and the beginning of that got us into a discussion. Aaron Hernandez, who is the coordinator of all the activity that went on here, Aaron called me one day and he said, you know, there's a little postage stamp size piece of grass, like an island in all the concrete up there, and he said, I think that could be used for a garden, like a community garden. We could, you know, use that for growing produce and donate it to the food banks. And I looked at that tiny little piece of land and I said, what? You know, I'm no Cisco and I don't know gardening all that well. And I looked at that piece of land and I said, okay, Aaron, go ahead, whatever, knock yourself out. And I can tell you that last year on that tiny little plot, we gave hundreds of pounds of fresh produce to the White Center Food Bank just through that tiny little piece of land. And through that process, he said, you know, I think we have a lot of land like that around here on our campus. I wonder if we could be a place for a P-Patch. And I thought, okay, go for it. See what you can do. And Aaron has worked tirelessly over more than a year probably to work with the city and coordinate all the things and communicate with a lot of you people and do a lot of the legwork and all those kind of things. And my job in all that was just to cheer him on and say, yeah, way to go, Aaron.